A maverick.
A maverick.
A maverick.
I don't know what you consider a maverick.
I suppose it's unique.
Different.
Somebody with a touch of genius.
Wild and crazy.
In between outlaw and the old west.
Supremely self-confident, occasionally misguided, but always interesting.
Either you're a maverick or you're not. That's the way it is.
An artist. Tino's world is fun, exciting, taking chances. I'd like Tino's world, but I couldn't live in it.
Why do football fans adore me? Well, because I am and always will be one of a kind. There's nobody else like me.
He lives life by his own rules.
He was in the top 3 players in the world.
Sin dudarlo.
Pero finalmente sí lo hacía. Más la explosión de su propia vida hicieron un futbolista excepcional.
One of the most unpredictable, but one of the most skillful players I've ever played with.
My life has been like a dream and a fairy tale. Nearly 300 miles from the Colombian capital of Bogotá lies Tuluá, Colombia's 4th largest city and the home of their greatest footballing maverick.
Faustino Asprilla was born in a town called Tuluá,
which is in the heart of the Valle del Cauca region, which is hot in every sense of the word. Scorching weather, and where there have been some very heated situations.
It's a little bit lawless. The guys are very macho, men are men, and Tino certainly fits into that category. So I just think it kind of fits in with the slightly wild west way of life around Tuluá.
This place was built with a lot of love. And it's special because it was an idea of mine when I was at Parma. Ever since I was a kid, I've always liked animals. All types, not just horses, but also cows. So when I have the chance to buy 2 or 3 or even 4, I keep them here. I feed them. And I guess it's a hobby that I have.
When Tino was a child, he was really lively, very happy, and used to play all the time.
I was in the Tuluá Football Club youth team. The coach told me that he would put me on the bench, but I played the second half. So what I did was strip naked and I told him no. If I'm not going to play, I'm going home, and I handed in my kit, got changed and left. I was 15.
From what I can understand, that was his first act of rebelliousness in football.
Despite the warning signs, Asprilla's talent was undeniable, eventually leading him to Colombian giants Atlético Nacional, where his performances soon caught the attention of Europe's elite clubs. In 1992, Asprilla arrived at Parma, one of Italian football's emerging powers. The Colombian was soon rated as one of the top 5 players in Serie A.
He won 5 European titles with Parma, played in some legendary games because he ended Milan's long 60-match unbeaten run by scoring a free kick. On his day, he was one of the best and is a cult icon.
He kind of fitted right into the classic playboy Italian lifestyle, I suppose. Cocktails, girls, discos, extravagance, fur jackets, sports car crashes, all the kind of stuff Tino Asprilla specialises in.
Asprilla's goals helped Parma reach
the 1993 European Cup Winners' Cup final against Royal Antwerp at Wembley, but Tino would have to watch from the sidelines due to a recent altercation back home.
On the dusty roads in the back streets of Tuluá, where Tino's from, so he'd have been speeding around the corner, encountered the bus, which, as he put it, crashed into him.
He
enjoyed crashing into me, and so I ended up having a problem with him. And when I tried to get on the bus, he closed the window before I had a chance and I cut my leg.
Tino got very angry. I think he ripped off a windscreen wiper, trying to get into the bus, and the guy closed the bus doors on Tino, who then ended up kicking the door, putting his foot through the glass, and injuring his leg, which is why he missed some games that season.
He may have played no part in Parma's Wembley success, but for Tino, there was always a reason to celebrate.
When he was at Parma, the parties he would throw were legendary. There were horses. There were 3 orchestras. Women modelling. He also liked nice brands and designer fashion.
There's normally a few girls hanging around, whether they're Tino's girlfriends or just part of the gang. And he just loves to dance. He loves salsa, and if you get him in a club, everyone's buzzing to him.
Yeah, I love it. I dance salsa, and it's something we have in our blood.
And he just kind of milks the attention and dances like a demon.
After he started playing for Parma, he began to earn good money. And he used it to buy guns. But he never had any problems with anyone. He would just get drunk and fire shots in the air.
It's something I've been attracted to ever since I was a child. I've never used guns to kill or shoot anyone. It was just a collection.
Faustino Asprilla
represents the rebel Colombian.
El colombiano rebelde en todo el sentido de la palabra.
When he was at Universidad Chile, sort of towards the end of his career, I think he'd been out for a couple of weeks with an injured knee, and he was along watching training and decided that his teammates weren't really putting in enough effort. So he got a blank firing pistol and entered the pitch.
It was just a toy gun, because a foreigner can't use guns in another country. And the team was training, and these guns are used in the films from Hollywood.
He turned up at training and he pointed the pistol at his teammates and said, "You need to pick up your game, or otherwise I'm going to shoot you in the ass."
The only thing I know is that these guns have landed me in a lot of trouble, so that's why I no longer use them here or anywhere else.
Following Parma's European success, Asprilla returned to fitness, and in the summer of 1993, wrote his name into Colombian football folklore.
Because of that one game against Argentina, Faustino Asprilla became part of Colombian football history.
Before that game, I had a manager, Gustavo Mascardi, and he'd given me a mobile phone. I went on the pitch to walk around and see what it was like. The Argentina fans started to shout things at us, and at that point my phone started ringing. And it was the manager, Mascardi, and he told me, "Get off the pitch, because they're shouting things at you." So I told him, "Look what I'm going to do." And I turned to the stand and I said, "Today I'm going to score 2 goals on this pitch."
En 1993, para mi modo de ver, Faustino Asprilla era el mejor jugador
was the
del mundo.
best player in the world in 1993.
Era un joven de 23 años.
He was young, 23 years old,
su momento más
and at his most natural, wild, and
natural,
untamed self.
Salvaje, silvestre.
Para mí fue un honor muy grande, For un me, it was a orgullo huge honor. cuando él marcó I was so proud when he esos scored those goles goals against contra Argentina, pues una cosa que because it was era something that was imposible creer impossible que to eso believe pudiera that could have suceder, happened. Sucedió.
But it did happen.
Porque él era,
and during that time, he
en
was
esa
an
época,
extraordinary player.
un extraordinario
really
jugador,
well.
está jugando muy bien.
Siempre es igual.
It's always the
uno
same
siente.
feeling when you score goals. It's a
Cuando
really
hace
strong
goles,
emotion.
es una emoción enorme.
And even more so when it's to
Más
qualify
cuando
for a World Cup.
lo logra hacer para una
Wearing your
para
country's shirt is the best thing that can
clasificar a
happen
una
to you.
Copa del Mundo y
You always feel proud to have been
camisa
able to
de tu
feature in this
país.
game, and especially because it was a game of such
lo máximo
magnitude.
que te puede pasar.
I did once ask him what was the biggest risk he'd ever taken for a woman, and he said it was eloping from the Colombian training camp to go and see Lady Noriega the night before they had an international match.
Fuimos novios.
Yeah, she was my
Era una
girlfriend.
actriz colombiana, muy famosa,
She was a very famous Colombian actress.
modelo,
She
reina
was also a model
en
and
Colombia.
a beauty queen.
Entonces, cuando nos hicimos
So when we
novios,
went out on dates
fue
as
una
a couple,
relación que
a lot of people used to talk about
en
us.
Colombia se habló mucho.
He just swaggered back in the next morning and said, "I'm El Tino, what are you going to do?"
In 1994, during the New Year's Eve celebrations, Asprilla was involved in the most significant controversy of his career.
There was a problem at a party in a nightclub. He wanted to dance with this really beautiful model who was very popular here in our country. She turned him down, and I imagine that he was a bit under the influence. And he caused a scandal, as happens with Latin Americans from Mexico to Argentina, by having a gun and threatening to shoot her.
He'd invited 3 girls back to his place in Tulwa. The security forces weren't letting them through, and they gave Tino a call. So Tino arrives at the scene with his machine gun, I think it was an Uzi, and starts spraying it in the air above the security forces' heads. At which point the security guards took offence, the police were called, I think the army might have been involved. Anyway, cut a long story short, Tino got arrested.
Aquí está la historia de mi vida.
This is my life story.
La historia
It's the story of what I did from day to day
día a día
in football
en el fútbol, en mi
and in my
vida.
life.
Es muy lindo tener
It's
este
really nice to
recuerdo,
have this memory
sobre todo para
to show my
que
nieces
le
and
quede a
nephews,
mis sobrinos, mis nietos,
my grandchildren and my
a
son.
mi hijo. Es un lindo recuerdo
It's a
de todo
lovely
lo que
memory of
pasó, y
everything that
cuando
happened.
uno ve lo que
And
escribían
nice
sobre
to see
mí,
what the
sobre
papers
mí,
wrote about me.
personas, hay cosas que se siente uno realmente orgulloso de todo esto.
In September 1995, Asprilla was given a 1-year suspended prison sentence for his New Year antics and was told to report to the Colombian consulate in Milan every month for 2 years. But 6 months later, English Premier League leaders Newcastle United came calling. The Colombian swapped the Italian countryside for the cold snow of Tyneside.
This guy landing at Newcastle Airport, and the TV coverage had him walking in, and it was very cold. It was like there was like sleet coming in, and he had this stupid big coat on. Well, whatever fur it was, I do not know. Whether it was probably Sasquatch, he'd have bought it from somewhere. And I just thought, look at this here, you know. And you just knew there and then, there's something different here.
When they told me I was going to be in a city that was by the sea, the first thing I thought was great. I'm going to be on the beach. I'm going to be sailing yachts. But it turned out that actually the sea there is really dangerous.
His dress sense wasn't the best, you know, at times. One time he did arrive with a snorkel, flippers and a jockstrap on. Players didn't have a clue what was happening, and he was barking out orders in Spanish, but obviously nobody understood. But that was sort of the sort of unpredictability of the man. You know, you never knew what he was going to be up to.
He made his debut against Middlesbrough in '96.
During lunch, I was asked what I wanted to drink. And in Italy, it was normal that you had a glass of red wine before lunch or with your lunch. So I asked for a glass of wine, and the club owner was sitting there staring at me. And Kevin Keegan, the manager, asked me,
Pero en
Are you
realidad
going
yo
to
no
drink
iba
wine?
a jugar ese
What if you have
partido.
to play
Keegan dijo,
later?
no, no pasa
But
nada,
I
que
didn't
tome
think I was going to
una
play in
copa
the
de vino.
game because Keegan had
Y le
told me
tomé una
that.
copa de vino
So
porque
nothing happened.
pensé
I
que
drank
no
the glass
iba
of wine because I didn't
a
think I was going to
participar
feature in the
en
game.
el partido.
All of a sudden, the excitement sort of started to rise because we found out he's going to be sub, you know, he's going to be part of the game. And I just remember him getting the ball down the left-hand side in front of me, and he did this bit of skill and just popped it up, and Steve Watson at the back post comes in, and we're just like, wow.
Oh, he used to be, when he first came over, out with his phrase book and, you know, trying to obviously chat women up and, you know, looking at his phrase book and asking, you know, to come back to his house for parties and stuff. It was sort of broken English, but it was more or less, you want to come back to my house, you want a party. That was pretty much the only English he felt he needed to know.
When I arrived, I saw some really beautiful women in Newcastle.
Vi unas mujeres muy hermosas en Newcastle.
Our home was Julie's nightclub on the quayside, and Tino would go in and he liked the ladies, he was a single lad. But then what he would do is he would invite the nightclub. He would just invite the nightclub to go back to his place. But I just remember, I think the gaffer just pulled him after about, I don't know, a few months of being there and just went, Tino, you can't do this. And he's like, why? I'm just enjoying myself.
Back in February, March 1996, playing Man City away, and you know we've seen a little bit of a different side to Tino, which you know quite close to the surface.
You know, he doesn't suffer fools. You know, after getting to know him, you know, he's been brought up in a place and in a life that you know he knows how to look after himself.
The thing is, these things happen in football. It was my third game in England, or second, I can't remember. And I didn't really understand how football there worked. There were always a few blows, kicks and punches.
Give Keith Curl his dues. He's thinking, right, I've got to get the best of him.
You know, they were head to head, and Tino obviously stuck the head into him, you know, and got a few games banned. But, you know, he sort of had that edge about him where he could sort of flip at times.
We're on the coach coming back from a away game, and Tino brings a video, and I remember lads saying, "We're not having your crap on," you know. He's like, "No," and he's going, "No, you like, so whatever, go on then, yeah." I remember this video going on. There's no intro. It's just, as I remember it, it's this beautiful, stunning girl walking around this apartment, and anyhow, knock at the door. He opens the door. This bloke appears. Anyhow, he comes in. To whoever is watching this, right, I'll try and describe it in the best terms. It's full on. It is full on. And lads, and I remember sort of the gaffers at the front going, whoa, what's going off here? And then it's the funniest thing ever. You can hear Tino, no, my missus.
I was waiting in the changing room at one time, waiting on Kevin Keegan come in to do his team talk, and he thought it'd be funny if he sort of stood up and started doing the team talk himself. Little did he know then that Kevin Keegan was standing behind him and had the shock of his life, but he had the whole dressing room in stitches.
Asprilla had settled well in Newcastle, but once again, the issue of club versus country raised its head. He was dropped by Colombia for turning up late for an international game.
I was at a festival watching a horse show, and we had to turn up to the training camp at 12 o'clock. But I turned up at 6 p.m. because I wanted to watch the whole show. And well, Bolillo was the coach back then, and he got really annoyed. I still played the next day, and I scored 2 goals, and so everything turned out okay.
Asprilla continued to entertain the St James's Park faithful, and by now was a cult hero in the English game. But it was his timekeeping that continued to antagonise the club's hierarchy.
Keegan received a fax from Tino saying that the plane had been cancelled and he wasn't going to be able to make it. And subsequently the plane arrived without Tino on it.
I came back here. I was here. I was with lots of girls, not just one. And there was a party on the Thursday. I travelled back on Friday.
We sort of had to be in training for sort of 10 o'clock. Tino would arrive in 20 past, 25 past 10, and we were already gathered on the training pitch, and you'd see him coming in the door to go and get changed. And I think one day he turned up at 20 past 9, and he hadn't realised that the clocks had changed. You know, so for once he actually turned up early.
D-Day on Tyneside, Dalglish prepares for his Spanish Inquisition. First to the Champions League and the biggest game in Newcastle's recent history. They take on Spanish giants Barcelona in their first game in the so-called Group of Death.
One of the biggest games ever in Newcastle's history.
Dalglish called his team meeting. Faustino Asprilla wasn't there.
Kenny Dalglish could be he would jump all over that.
Dalglish was pretty furious and was on the point of dropping him from the team.
Hay rumores de que eran dos mujeres, que era una colombiana o una inglesa.
Dalglish was annoyed. He didn't like it. He fined me, and so I didn't think I was going to play against Barcelona.
Creí que no me iba a poner a jugar. Me puso a jugar y cuando
And when he said my name before the game, I was really surprised.
Partido, yo me sentí muy sorprendido.
Lucky enough for us, whatever they came to an agreement with, Tino played. Because, I mean, that night was just, he was on fire.
The first goal came after a foul by the goalkeeper.
Arquero, un penalti,
Penalty that I scored.
Que yo cobro.
It was after a really great bit of play from Keith Gillespie down the right.
Por la derecha tira un centro y un cabeceo en el primer palo.
The third goal was also very similar.
The Barcelona defence knew how to handle him that night.
That night, Tino just propelled himself into folklore.
El estadio me estaba aplaudiendo cuando le dieron, me decían adiós a Newcastle.
But it couldn't last, and in early 1998, Asprilla returned to Parma. Unable to repeat his success of the early 90s, the Colombian had for some time also struggled to perform for his country. At the 1998 World Cup, after being taken off in a 1-0 defeat by Romania, Asprilla made his feelings perfectly clear to the media.
I'm sad because I'm not in the national team anymore. I don't think it's fair to be taken out just for speaking the truth or for saying something that everybody saw.
It was a team that had lost its head. It had lost its head because of the success. And it had lost its head because of the ego of its best players. There was a power struggle between Asprilla and El Pibe Valderrama.
I just think he's one of those guys that just likes to push his luck as far as he can. He must have been an absolute nightmare for managers.
Faustino Asprilla eventually retired from football in 2009, having returned to Colombia, where he now divides his time between tending his animals, farming sugarcane, and promoting his own brand of condoms.
Well, this is my condom business. This is the logo. And they're currently out on the market.
One very funny story he tells is about his range of condoms that he launched last year, which are passion fruit flavour. He had a passion fruit tree in his garden, and he always found the smell of the flowers of the tree particularly erotic. So he would always take his dates and sit them under the passion fruit tree.
We'll get them out first in Colombia, and then later if we can release them in England, I'd like to sell them in Newcastle, and in the same colours as Newcastle United.
The most important manager, Francisco Maturana, said that Faustino Asprilla was a big kid and that he would be a big kid all of his life. Because acting like a kid, he doesn't treat life so seriously. And so I think this also fits with what it is to be a Maverick.
I had a brilliant career with some spectacular moments and a lot of trophies along the way. Above everything else, the best thing my life in football gave me was all the friends that I made around the world.
Faustino Asprilla is considered one of the 5 best players in the history of Colombian football.
Faustino le encantan los hinchas por su forma de jugar. La forma de él correr, la habilidad, la velocidad, la gambeta,
his dribbling skills,
la celebración de los goles.
I think I'm somebody
who has a special gift for doing many things, for leading my life in my own way. And I believe that's the key to the success that I've then achieved.